This news update is brought to you by
This is the 7 a.m. Barbados Today news update for Friday, September the 19th, 2014. I'm Emmanuel Joseph. Good morning. Amid claims of taxi drivers overcharging passengers and demanding that they pay more for extra luggage or air conditioning, the director of the Barbados Transport Authority, Alex Linton, is warning offending operators to cease and desist as they are in breach of the law. But the secretary of the Barbados Transport Cooperative Society, Anthony Hayward, has insisted that taxi operators should be allowed to charge a higher fare in some circumstances in the same way that airlines charge extra for additional luggage. He also complained that while the authorities are demanding that drivers charge by the book, fares have not been increased in years, despite rising operational costs. But Transport Authority Director Linton made specific reference to Section 79.5 of the Road Traffic Regulations, which states that the driver of a hackney carriage, maxi taxi or taxi, who demands a fare in excess of that set out in the second schedule is guilty of an offence. Hoteliers may have to wait a little longer to access the tax breaks that Minister of Finance Chris Sinclair promised they would get their hands on this week. President of the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association, Sunil Chatrani, told Barbados Today that up to yesterday afternoon, members had not received the concessions, similar to what Jamaican hotel chain Sandals has been granted. When Minister Sinclair addressed the BTA's quarterly general meeting last week, he assured hoteliers they could consider the concessions granted, and he would be putting provisions in place to ensure they get them this week. Chatrani said even though efforts were being made to make it happen, it was unlikely that the concessions could come through by today. He noted that they would more realistically become accessible sometime next week. In sports now, the West Indies Cricket Board and the West Indies Players Association have signed an historic collective bargaining agreement memorandum of understanding in Barbados. It was the second such agreement over the past 10 years. Chief Executive Officer and the President of WIPA, Wavell Hines, along with WICB President Wycliffe Cameron and Chief Executive Officer of the WICB, Michael Mirrorhead, signed the accord, which was witnessed by Chairman of Selectors Clive Lloyd and the new Director of West Indies Cricket, Richard Bypass. Hines told the media he was happy with the new contract.
It's an 80-20 as it is now, 80% of what we want are in it. And of course, we respect the $20%, which the Research Cricket Board will have to protect what they have. And it's a working document, and as we go along, we'll look to fine-tune that document. And as the landscape of cricket changes as well, there are things that we like now that we probably want to change in 2 years' time.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Hi, I'm Red Plastic Bag. Anyone who knows me knows I don't like cold. Sunshine reigns in my country. I love it.
Over in the Bahamas now, lawmen have cracked down on an illegal smuggling ring. Customs Controller Charles Turner says more than $200,000 worth of stolen vehicles, ammunition and electronics were discovered by his department and police after an extensive investigation into what is believed to be a major smuggling operation with ties to the United States.
When opening the containers, we would have found 4 vehicles contained therein. And those vehicles are sports Camaro vehicles and a Tahoe vehicle. And additionally, we would have found over 1,000 rounds of ammunition.
On the global front, first results last night in the referendum to decide whether Scotland should stay in the UK or become an independent country reflected an early no. In other developments, police are investigating allegations of electoral fraud relating to 10 ballot papers in Glasgow. The Queen is expected to make a written statement today after the results have been confirmed. And finally, here's something to think about. The Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, says he sometimes has doubts in his belief in God. In an interview with BBC Bristol, the leader of the Church of England says he doubted in lots of different ways.
There are moments, sure, you think, is there a God? Where is God? You know, there are other moments. I love the Psalms. If you look at Psalm 88, that's full of doubt. Psalm 44 is pretty rough as well. Psalm 22 isn't bad. I don't know what's wrong with 22, 44, 88. It's a good thing there isn't 176, isn't there? And it's... I go... Well, I call it running. The dog calls it holding her back in the morning. And I will go along. The other day I was praying over something as I was running. I ended up saying to God, look, this is all very well, but isn't it about time you did something if you're there? Which is probably not what the Archbishop of Canterbury should say. That's how we end our 7 a.m. Barbados Today update. You can join us again at noon. But in the meantime, log on to www.barbadostoday.bb, subscribe to our e-paper and email updates, or like us on Facebook. You can also catch us on Izumi Media in bus terminals or Screenplay in supermarkets and gas stations near you to get more news and sports. I'm Emmanuel Joseph. Have a wonderful day.
This news update is brought to you by